Joe and Mac is one of the best early two-player action games for the Super Nintendo. When the Super NES released in North America in late 1991, there just weren't very many two-player games. There was Super Mario World, but you had to take turns, and even games that you'd think would have a good two-player mode, like F-Zero or Final Fight, were single-player only. That would all change when Data East brought the arcade hit Joe and Mac to the system. The original Joe and Mac arcade game was released in 1991 and was directed by Makoto Kikuchi. You may recognize some of his earlier arcade hits, like
Live by
or Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja. This time he chose a prehistoric theme in hopes that it would make the game stand out in the arcades of the early 90s. When it was translated to English, the full title was Joe and Mac, Caveman Ninja. Joe and Mac's arcade debut was bright and colorful with large bosses to battle and expressively animated characters. The game is short, but branching paths and multiple endings add replay value. Joe and Mac Caveman Ninja was a hit in the arcade, and when Data East later ported it to the Sega Genesis, they did a great job of bringing the arcade game to a home system. When they brought the game to the Super Nintendo, however, Data East went in a different direction. The Super Nintendo version features a lot of elements from the arcade game, and at first glance you might think that they're the same, but this game has been completely redesigned with a home console experience in mind. In the arcade original, Joe and Mac's health is constantly depleting, like in Adventure Island. And just like in that game, you have to constantly eat fruit or meat to survive. On the Super Nintendo, you have a more traditional life bar. The weapons also work a lot differently, and when you lose a life on Super Nintendo, you don't have to go back to a checkpoint. The most significant difference is that the game is much bigger. Most of the levels are larger, and you'll be required to complete more of them. A map screen like the one in Super Mario World connects the levels together and allows you to use keys to unlock bonus stages. Sadly, they didn't include any of the levels where you can ride on a dinosaur. The story was also changed from the arcade release. Instead of Neanderthals kidnapping cave women, in the Super Nintendo version, the women just get scared away and are lost in the jungle. The changes paid off, and when Joe and Mac released in North America in January of 1992, it was quickly one of the most popular games on the system. The Super Nintendo release dropped the Caveman Ninja from the title, which is probably for the best considering that Joe and Mac aren't very ninja-like at all. The game spawned several sequels, including Joe and Mac 2 Lost in the Tropics, which in Japan is the third game in the Caveman Combat series, and the spin-off, Congo's Caper, is the first sequel. In the arcade, there was Joe and Mac Returns, which is a fun game but very different from the others. It's a single-screen monster-clearing game, like a caveman-themed Bubble Bobble. That would have probably been the end, but French studio Microids has revived the property for a reboot on current-gen systems. In modern times, players still enjoy the simple pleasure of fighting enormous dinosaurs. When Complex released their list of the top 100 SNES games of all time, they ranked Joe and Mac at number 69. If you'd like to play Joe and Mac on a modern platform, it is one of the games included with the Switch's online service. Modern players that attempt this game will still have to deal with all of the challenges retro games are notorious for. You may have a life bar, but falling into a pit is instant death. Many of the bosses take tons of hits to defeat, and you do not get unlimited continues. If you die too many times, it'll be game over. But what if I told you how to find every hidden key so you can unlock all of the bonus stages? What if I showed you an easy way to gain infinite lives? And what if I showed you the best way to defeat every boss? Even the Blue Devil himself? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, We'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and check out youcanbeatvideogames.com for episode lists, news, and official You Can Beat Video Games merchandise. Let's get started. All right, Joe and Mac. Before we jump into the game, if you have two controllers, you can access a secret sound test, so you want to highlight options on the title screen, and on controller 2, hold the L button and right, and on controller 1, you're going to hold R and left, and then you'll hit start on controller 1. It'll bring up this sound test, which is a little bit confusing to use, but if you mess around with it, you'll find a bunch of different songs and sound effects. If we actually go into that options menu, we can change the difficulty. If you're struggling with the game, don't feel bad about playing on easy mode, you'll still get the proper ending. And if you need an extra challenge, there's hard, but we're going to be playing on the default normal mode. Alright, let's jump into the first stage. Speaking of jumping, we have two different kinds of jumps. If you hold up, you'll do a big spinning jump, but that still won't get you up to where the egg is. Instead, you need to jump onto the back of this pterodactyl and then do a big jump to get up there. Inside, we'll find a new weapon, the boomerangs, and if we head over here to the right, there's a Neanderthal carrying another egg, and inside this one is the bone weapon. It's okay to pick up another weapon when you already have one that you like, because you can just press select to toggle between the weapons that you've collected. In the arcade game, collecting a new weapon would overwrite your previous one, but here on the Super Nintendo, we want to collect all 4 different weapons. Take out this Neanderthal before jumping across the pit, and then throw a few boomerangs before you jump across to preemptively strike another Neanderthal that will appear on the other side. Take out those pterodactyls, and then make sure to clear this purple one, but don't advance the screen too far to the right. That red egg will take us to a hidden area, but we need to clear all of the enemies on the screen first. If you did it correctly, this pink pterodactyl will carry you off to a hidden area where you'll find the game's first hidden key. If you did it wrong, you'll just find a weapon, so you don't want to do that. Here in the hidden area, we'll also find some meat, which will restore your health, and an egg that this one contained a 1-up, so that's pretty good. And at the very end, the key is the item that we were really interested in. That will allow us to open up a bonus stage on the world map. We'll get dropped off from the secret area near the end of the stage, but we're going to have the opportunity to get a third weapon here. This is the fire, so you want to jump on the back of those enemies to get it. The fire deals 3 times as much damage as the bones or the boomerangs that we have. It's a little bit slower, but it's certainly worth picking up. There's some meat in the air that you can reach by doing a big jump from that ledge, and if you press down in the jump button, you can go through the dinosaur and drop down to this lower tier, where you'll be able to clear a rolling Neanderthal for some more meat. Take out this small T-Rex for another large steak, and that's going to bring us to the boss. It seems that we woke up the resting Rex and now we have to fight it. I had mentioned before that the fire weapon deals 3 times as much damage as our other weapons. Well, not against a T-Rex boss. All of our weapons deal the same amount of damage, so you'll want to use the boomerangs because they have the best range. If you stand in this position right underneath the right side of this cloud, you'll be able to hit the boss, and even when it charges forward, it won't be able to reach you. It'll take 4 hits to remove 1 bar of the boss's life, and then its eyes will bulge out and it'll have a few frames of invincibility. But if you just hang out up there and keep attacking with the boomerangs, you should have no problem finishing off the T-Rex. Joe gets a kiss from this cave woman, but if she was hanging out just off the screen there, us waking up that dinosaur probably put her in a lot of danger, so if I was her, I'd be pretty mad. In any case, we've made it to Stage B, Plants and Geysers, And if you miss the fire weapon in the first stage, you can just drop down through this platform by pressing down and jump to collect one right there. So make sure you have a fire weapon before you move on, and also make sure to hit this enemy so that it drops the egg in this upper platform. That egg will contain a random weapon, and it'll probably be a weapon that you already have, but it could be the stone wheel, which is the best weapon in the game, so you want to take a chance and hopefully you'll get it. You can stand on those geysers, but it's probably easier to just jump over them. Over here, you don't want to crack the red egg right away. Instead, kill the Neanderthal, go to the top tier, then drop back down to the left and crack the egg. I'm not sure why you have to do all that stuff to make the secret area appear, but that seems to be the most consistent way of doing it. In here, we're going to be able to get the second of those hidden keys. We didn't do anything with the first key that we got yet, but it won't be long before we find some gates that we'll be able to unlock with these. There aren't any additional items up here this time, just the key, so if you need to get some meat to restore your health, we'll have to look elsewhere. Like if we jump down here, take out the rock that this pterodactyl is carrying, and then when you jump across, throw a fireball out preemptively, and you'll be able to hit a rolling Neanderthal, which will drop some meat for you. There's going to be another one coming from up above, so get ready for him. Take him out for even more meat. You want to use your boomerangs here. They have good enough range to hit those man-eating plants from far away, and then the way will be clear when you head to the right. This Neanderthal will try to drop a large rock on you, but it's easy enough to avoid by running to the right. You can destroy it though. We can collect a last-minute power-up, and then it's time to fight the boss, the man-eating plant. You can duck to avoid that tendril that it whips around, but the easiest way to fight this guy is to just double tap right to roll behind it, and then you can attack it from behind. If you attack it from the front, it can eat your projectiles and spit them back at you. So don't feed the boss, Seymour. Get behind it and keep on attacking, and it won't be long before you send this mean green mama back to outer space. Before we move on, it's important to know that you can go back into stages that you've already completed. You don't have to do anything fancy to go back in there, just press the button normally. And we want to go back here into stage B and keep killing that pterodactyl that carries the egg at the beginning until we get the stone wheel. Hopefully we'll get it, and we did get it this time, great. Once you hit the egg, pause the game and press select and you'll automatically be taken outside, so you can keep repeating that over and over again until you get the game's best weapon. And since we have one of those bonus keys, let's play the game's first bonus stage. In here, you need to grab all of the meat. If it lands on the ground, there's sort of the caveman 5-second roll, but it's not even that long. You need to pick it up right away. So you need to collect all of the meat, and the best strategy for doing that is to jump and catch it while it's in the air. So that one touched on the right side, but I was able to grab it in time. And do not collect the 1-up at the end. If you wait until it goes away, you'll get 4 1-ups instead. And make sure that you roll to the right or left to collect those 1-ups. You do not get a lot of time to pick those up. Stage C is the beehive climb, and it's one of the shorter levels in the game. I like to start by climbing up the right side so that all of those green pterodactyls will congregate over there, and you can easily take them out with your wheel. If you step up into this position and keep aiming upwards, your wheel will continuously clear out the bees and you'll be able to rack up a ton of points. When you're done doing that, switch over to your boomerangs, take out the center beehive first, watch out for it as it falls down, then take out the one on the left, followed by the one on the right. If you follow that pattern, you should spawn a 1-up right up here, and there it is. And that's certainly going to be helpful moving forward, because we're almost to the boss. There's a couple more beehives right up here to remove, so just aim up with your wheels and watch out for the bees that are spawned right as the beehive drops. They just go up and at an angle and they won't actually chase you. Up here we'll fight the boss, the Pteranodon, and it always starts in the upper right corner, swoops down into the middle, and then exits through the upper left. But after that, its attacks are random, so make sure to get in some hits when it does that first move. After that, it might try to blow you away, it could try to swoop in from the bottom, it may do its very fast attack, that one right there. If it does that attack, you just want to jump over it, you can't damage it when it's flying at that speed. If it brings in eggs, try to clear the enemies that it spawns right away, and just keep attacking it with your wheels, and this boss will go down pretty fast. And that's it, we finished Stage C, but before we move on, there's a way that we can get infinite lives very easily here. So let's just go back into Stage C, and you probably know what we're going to do. We're going to go up to where those beehives are, and we just want to quickly clear the beehives, clear the one in the middle first, then the one on the left, then the one on the right, and that should spawn the one up again, and you'll be able to collect this one up as many times as you want, and once you get it, pause the game and press select, and you'll be able to quickly leave the level. So just do that as many times as you want to rack up as many lives as you need. Over here we can use our second key to unlock another bonus stage. This one's not as exciting as the previous bonus stage. You'll just crack an egg and get a random item. You might get a 1-up or you might just get a weapon or something. And that brings us to Stage D, the River Run. This level is an auto-scroller, but it doesn't move very fast. At the beginning, you'll find an egg containing a random weapon, but you want to be using the stone wheels here, so quickly switch back to them. You can even hit this guy on the top tier if you jump. Head down to the bottom. For this part, I like to stay in the lower left corner. That's the best place for avoiding the piranhas, and just attack any enemies that come near you. So we'll just stay down here, we'll let the screen scroll, and anybody that comes close is gonna get it with a stone wheel. At this point you can move forward a little bit. There's going to be a geyser ahead. Just wait here until the fish start jumping, and then you can do a big jump and clear the whole thing without using that geyser at all. If you jump too early there, you could get hit by a fish and knocked into the water. Over here, your wheels will take out the Neanderthals, but make sure you clear all the enemies on the screen before you hit the red egg, because that's going to take us to another hidden area, where we'll find the game's third hidden key. In this one, there are some good items, so you'll want to press down and the jump button to drop to the bottom tier and grab those 2 1-ups. Then you can head back to the left and just do a few short hops to get all the way to the top of this thing, where you'll be able to jump over and retrieve the key. With the key in our possession, we'll be taken back to the stage. It's going to start auto-scrolling again, but it'll be a moment before any more enemies show up. If your health is getting low, you're in luck. There's going to be a bunch of those big steaks for us to eat, so you'll be able to refill here before we hit the boss. So there are 3 of those steaks, but make sure you throw a wheel ahead of you to hit that Neanderthal in a car, and still try to stay in the lower left corner. That's the best spot for avoiding the fish. Keep attacking the enemies as they come towards you. There are 2 more of those steaks. Watch out for another Neanderthal in a car, and right after those steaks you want to head to the middle because the boss, the ichthyosaurs, are about to attack. And the first 2 groups always come out to the left and the right, so just quickly throw a wheel to the left and the right and you should hit them. I like to throw those first couple wheels a little bit early. Every once in a while they will repeat that pattern, but whenever they attack as a big group, you just want to do your best to avoid where the fins are and hit them when they pop out of the water. Don't forget that you can hold down the L or the R button to run. You don't really want to be doing your roll attack here, because it doesn't deal enough damage to really kill one of these things, and you won't be able to throw your wheels when you're rolling. With Flipper and his fishy friends out of the way, we'll be on to Stage E, the Waterfall. Now in this one, a dinosaur carries you, and the best spot to hang out is down here in the lower left corner, although once you get past that first ledge, you will need to move off of that position a little bit or you'll get hit by a rock or 2, but that's still one of the safer spots. You can pick up that bone weapon if you want to, but you're going to want to use the wheel on the boss. the Elasmosaurus. This boss always comes out of the water in the same spot, so be waiting for him right here to hit him with a few wheels. After that, you want to get underneath his chin and hit him with a few more. Make sure that you're hitting him with the wheel and not the club, because the wheel deals 3 times as much damage. Even if he eats some of your wheels and spits them back at you, if you're standing underneath the mouth, they should pass harmlessly overhead. When he does this attack, you can hit him right as he pops out of the water, but then get ready to jump over. And whenever you see this attack, you want to get behind the head. You can attack the fish for points here, but you won't be able to damage the boss. You want to wait until the boss is fully coming out of the water to be able to deal significant damage. You can defeat this guy in the very first cycle, but if you don't, you'll have to deal with those other attacks. And we'll rescue another cave woman. It's a little known fact that although cave people only had about 3 colors to make cave paintings with, the women actually had a lot of hair dye options. Stage F is the ice cave because there's some kind of video game law that says you can't make a platforming game without having a slippery ice level. Take out the enemies at the beginning. If you need that stake, you'll want to do a big jump over to the left to get it. Just make sure that you clear any enemies in the way first. Once you have it, keep making your way to the right. You want to avoid hitting these spikes. You can crack the egg below to see if it's something you're interested in, but I recommend taking the high road here so that you can avoid those pits below, and you might even get a good item like a 1-up. Keep the wheels rolling ahead of you so you can take out that dinosaur as soon as it appears, and continue to the right. If you stay on the bottom, you'll be able to get underneath those rocks, and a short hop from that position will allow you to collect that fire power-up if you would need it for some reason. Jump down here, carefully navigate the rocks, and make sure you don't fall off the edge on the right side. Do a few big jumps to get up here, and throw a wheel before you drop down to hit one of these tumbling Neanderthals. They often will drop some meat for you to eat. Over here we'll find an egg that contains a random item. Anthropologists have long debated how human beings invented the wheel. What they didn't know is that some dinosaurs actually would lay wheels fully formed inside of eggs. To get this 1-up, you'll need to do a big jump off of a Neanderthal. And if you keep making your way to the right, we'll meet the boss, the Woolly Mammoth. The Mammoth is a much more difficult boss than the ones we've fought up until this point. You can get behind this guy and just start rapidly attacking its back, but unless you're playing on easy mode, you'll probably lose a life or 2 doing this. You're definitely going to take some damage. A more conservative approach would be to stay on the far left side and try to attack the mammoth using your boomerangs because they have the best range, and if you just keep up a good hail of boomerangs, you should be able to break the rocks whenever he throws one at you. The boomerangs don't deal a lot of damage to this boss though, so you may want to actually try the fire. The fire is slower than the wheel weapon. You can only have 1 fire on the screen at a time, but if you miss the face of the boss with the fire, if it lands at the boss's feet, the burning action may actually still deal damage, and a single shot of the fire can still break the rocks that it throws at you, so the fire's a decent choice. Whenever the trunk falls off though, we're going to want to switch to the wheel and just go nuts with the wheel. In the last 2 forms, the boss could do a stomping attack which will make rocks fall from the ceiling, but if you take this guy out fast enough, you may not see that attack at all. From here, we're going to head to Stage G. It's another one of those vertical climbing levels, and it's another short one. So starting down here at the bottom, watch out for some of these tumbling Neanderthals, and if you're fast enough, you can hit them to maybe spawn some meat. Up here, I like to throw a few wheels before I jump up, and a tumbling Neanderthal will walk right into them. Above here, there's another one of those guys that pushes a big rock. You can clear the rock if you want to, but if you just wait for it to roll to the left, you can jump up on this side. Watch out for another tumbling guy here. I like to preemptively strike him. And that brings us to the boss. It's another Pteranodon. This boss always starts in the middle, and you want to stand a little bit off center so that you don't get hit by the body. It's going to go all the way down to the bottom and then go all the way back out the way that it came. From here its attacks will be random, but it likes to do this one where it slowly comes in from the bottom of the screen. At the end of that attack, sometimes it will swoop upwards, sometimes it'll just keep going off the end. Either way, it's probably a good idea to jump over the boss a little bit early so it doesn't matter what it does, and make sure that you keep attacking it even after it's almost completely off the screen. You can still get hits. If it comes at you at this level, you can duck and you'll still be able to hit it with the wheels as it passes over your head. Once its last health bar has expired, this Poo Pteranodon will join the other one in extinction. Beyond stage G, we can enter a bonus stage. The one on the right will refill our health. The one on the left is one of those random egg choosing ones, so if you don't really need to refill your health, I guess do this one first. Otherwise, choose the one on the right instead. We'll be able to find another hidden key in the next stage, so whichever bonus stage you didn't do this time, you will be able to unlock it soon. Stage H, the volcano, is up next. At the beginning, you'll find an egg containing a random item, and as you head to the right here, these platforms are moving pretty slowly, so you should be safe. Just be careful that an enemy doesn't knock you into an open pit. Sometimes if you let your wheels go in this stage, they'll just keep rolling in front of you for quite some time, so you may not want to let both of your wheels go at the same time, just in case you need to have one ready to attack with. Over here is where we're going to find that egg that can take us to the bonus stage. Make sure that you clear all of the enemies on the screen before you open the egg, otherwise it'll just have a random item in it and it won't take you to the hidden area. In this hidden area, we'll be able to find a stone wheel in addition to the key. We should probably have the wheel already, but we'll grab it anyway. If you die and have to use a continue, you'll lose all of your weapons, but I recommend going back to stage B and just keep farming that first egg until you have all 4 weapons if you do need to use a continue. And then we will head back into stage H. As we head over to the right, we're going to find another egg. This one always seems to have food in it, so grab that food if you need it, but be careful not to touch the fire because that will defeat the purpose of picking up the food. Over here we can get a 1-up. You can just wait for that platform to drop down into the 1-up if it's not already close to it like it was there. And now it's time for us to fight another T-Rex boss. This boss has a ton of hit points, and we know that the T-Rex bosses only take 1 damage from our weapons, so why are we attacking this guy with the wheel? Well, there's a trick with this particular T-Rex. Whenever his eyes bulge out, he'll have a few frames of invincibility, but as soon as he goes back to normal, there's a split second where if you hit him, he'll take the full 3 damage from the wheel instead of just 1. So you want to try to get him in that little time frame. Wait until he's just about to turn back, do a small jump, and just start throwing wheels at him, and hopefully you'll be able to deal the additional damage. You probably won't be able to get this every time, but that's okay. As long as you get it every now and again, it's going to save you a lot of damage on this boss, and it's going to make it a whole lot easier. I like to stand in this position right near the edge of this volcano when I'm fighting the boss. Every now and again he'll dip down and you'll have to move to the right to get out of the way. But if you're keeping up the pressure and you're trying to exploit that split second when the boss is vulnerable, you should be able to defeat this boss a lot more quickly than you're supposed to, and he won't have a chance to dip down at you very much at all. And with that, we've completed stage H. From here we can head on to stage I, but first let's take that key that we found and go back to the other bonus stage that we didn't complete before. Now I said that the one on the right was good if you wanted to refill your health, and after fighting that T-Rex, you may have lost a lot of life, so you just need to clear these 4 plants, and you'll get a kiss from a blue-haired cave woman, and that kiss will totally refill your health. So from here, we're going to head down and to the right, and this is stage I, the lava pools. Right at the beginning of this one, we find one of those red eggs, so make sure to hit it before any more enemies come onto the screen, and you will get carried off to another hidden area. And this one has a couple 1-ups in it for you to find, so this is a pretty decent hidden area. And of course, there's another key that will take us to a bonus stage. With another key in our possession, we'll head back to the lava pools. This level is similar to the previous one, except there's not any open pits here. There's just lava pools, and if you fall in the lava, you'll take some damage, but you won't be instantly killed. So I would say that on the whole, this one's a little bit easier. Throw some wheels ahead of you so you can take out those small T-Rexes, and earn yourself some slabs of meat. Over here, we can take out a few tumbling Neanderthals for a few more bits of meat, so we should be able to keep our health pretty high through here. Jump on top of that pterodactyl to easily get over that flaming pillar, and drop down here if you want to open these eggs, but inside of them are enemies, so I wouldn't consider those a high priority. Stay underneath that ledge as the flying machine goes by so you don't get hit by the bomb that it throws, and make your way to the right. Before you jump off the next ledge, jump out and back a little bit to spawn another flying machine, and take it out before you head forward. Then drop down and move over to the right. There's another 2 tumbling Neanderthals, which should be able to max out your health before the boss. And there's 1 more egg with a weapon if you need it, but you shouldn't need any weapons right now. This boss is Ankylosaurus, and the first thing that it always does is rolls off the screen, and then it's going to drop out of the sky right into the bottom center, so don't be right there whenever it drops. Watch to see which way that it goes, and whenever it opens up, that's when you can hit it. You'll be able to hit it 1 time, and then it will turn back into a ball. Whenever this boss is in ball form, well, you just want to stay as far away from it as possible. It'll move erratically and try to fool you, but by staying as far away as possible, you should be able to avoid it most of the time, and just look for it to open up so you can score your 1 hit. You'll have a pretty good amount of time to get that hit in there, so stay away from the boss and don't worry about being able to hit it. You will have time when it opens up. Due to the nature of this boss, it could take a while to fight this one, and remember, if it goes off the screen, it's going to be landing in the middle of the bottom, so watch out for that, and just try to stay away from it. So whenever it's rolling to the top tier, get to the bottom. Whenever it's going to the bottom, get up on the top. Whenever it's off the screen, stay out of the middle, and just wait for it to open up. There we go. It should only take 2 more hits, I think, to finish this guy off. So we'll wait for it to spin around. Just trying to stay far away. Whenever you cross the top platform, cross it by doing a big jump, because sometimes the boss will bounce up there and hit you. So you don't want that to happen. And we're just going to stay as far as possible away, and I got fooled by it that time. But it should only take 1 more hit, so I think we're in good shape. And that's it. We've defeated the Ankylosaurus, and we're on to stage J. Of course, before we head over to stage J, there's another one of those green gates here that we can unlock with the key that we just found, and beyond it is a blue circle, which we know is another bonus stage. In this one, we just have to fight a dinosaur, so just stand in one spot and unload some wheels on it. And this is another one that will totally refill your health, so if you had taken any damage in that previous boss fight, that's a good spot to get your health back. The game's final key is hidden here in the tar pits, and it's one of the trickier ones to get. You can take out this dinosaur at the beginning to get a big steak, and down here you can drop through a platform to collect an egg that contains a random weapon. But be careful here. Don't be tempted by that 1-up and don't scroll the screen too far to the right. You want to hit this red egg right when it pops up over there on that side of the screen. If you go too far to the right, you will not be able to get to the hidden area. So don't worry about collecting that extra life, just worry about coming here and getting this key. You'll also be able to get all 4 weapons for whatever that's worth. So we can head over there and collect those. We should probably have all 4 weapons already, but if you just continued or something like that, well then it would be nice to collect all 4 weapons at once. And there it is, the game's final hidden key. Of course, the game's final bonus stage doesn't require a key to get in, and the only green gates remaining on the map are blocking map checkpoints, which ultimately aren't very useful. So if you were to miss that last key, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Use these purple pterodactyls to help you get across these small pits. If you want to get that slab of meat on the upper tier, you're going to need to jump from an enemy to get up there. You can also kill this small T-Rex to get another slab of meat. Don't let him run too far to the left or he'll die and you won't be able to collect it. Over here, we're going to encounter the next boss. This is the Bonosaurus. You want to hit this guy in the face with your wheels, and when you deal enough damage to it, the head will break off of the body, and sometimes it will do this attack where the bones will fall on you. And you could try to do what I just did there and jump over the head, but that's the more difficult way to do it. This is the easy way. You stay over on the left side, and right as that bone is dropping down to the lower tier, you jump up to the top tier. So wait, and when that bone is coming down, you jump up. There is one other attack this guy might do. He may just drop the head down to the bottom without spilling all the bones on you. If he does that, the head is going to come flying at you at some point, so just be ready for that and move out of the way. Here's that attack. So get out of the way. The boss is extra vulnerable right as the head reattaches to the body, so you want to try to get in some hits at that point, and just look for the 2 attacks that it does after the head has been severed. If it drops the bones on you, get over to the left, and if it just drops the head, be ready to dodge the head. It's a little known fact that in prehistoric times, sometimes dinosaur bones would spontaneously reanimate, and a lot of times cave people would eat the dinosaurs, and then they would be killed by the remains in the night. Now, if you wanted to get some more lives, this is by far the best level to rack up a bunch of 1-ups. So there's a 1-up right here at the very beginning, and you can collect it by jumping from that pterodactyl. That's the safe way to collect it, but since we've already completed this level, there's an even easier way to collect it. Make sure you crack this egg at the beginning. I don't think that the 1-up will spawn if you don't crack the egg, so you want to do that. And then you can just stand right above it, drop through the platform, and as soon as you collect the 1-up, pause the game and hit select, and that'll take you out of there. So get as many lives as you want, and before we head to the last 2 stages, we can do one more bonus game, and this bonus game is almost identical to the first one that we played, except this time there's some open space on the sides and you can die over there, so be careful not to fall in the pits on the left and the right. Once again, you need to collect all of the food, observing the Caveman 5-second rule. You can't leave any food sitting on the ground for very long or it will end the bonus stage, and do not collect that last 1-up. If you let it fade out, you'll be able to get 4 instead. There will be no turning back once we go into Stage K, the Lightning Flats, so make sure you have as many 1-ups as you want before you come in here. Conveniently though, you will be able to find all 4 weapons at the very beginning, so if you were missing any of the weapons, you'll be able to collect them right there. Over here you'll find a dinosaur that you can get some meat out of, and you can ride this pterodactyl up if you want to collect the meat on the pillar above. Just watch out for the fire that it's on top of. We can drop down here and collect another stake between these two fires, and then we want to carefully make our way across these small pillars, taking out these pterodactyls before we jump forward. The last thing that you want is to run into a rock or an enemy and fall between these pillars and lose a life at this point in the game. This is not a very long stage, but there is a pretty nasty boss at the end, so we want to stay at full strength if possible. There's another Neanderthal here pushing a big rock. You should be able to easily take that out and keep making your way to the right. Most of the pterodactyls here will fly to the left, but it is possible to find one that will fly to the right and then you can just ride it the whole way over. But for now, just take a few small hops, and if you do drop down below, wait at the bottom for one that's going your direction. That dangerous boss that I mentioned earlier is an even bigger T-Rex. For this one, there's an invisible step on the left side. I like to jump up there. It'll make it easier to avoid the rocks that this guy spits at you. And because this is a T-Rex boss, all of your weapons deal the same amount of damage, and this time there's no trick for you to deal extra damage right after it gets invincibility. So I like to use the boomerangs, although this may be the one boss fight where the bones could be useful. So if you prefer the bones, go for it, but I like the longer range that the boomerangs provide. So I like to stay on the left side, try to get up onto that invisible platform, jump whenever the boss opens its mouth to spit a rock, and just keep a hail of boomerangs going against this guy. If he spits a caveman at you, do your best to hit it with a boomerang. If you hit it with at least one, it will usually bounce back into the playing field and you'll have a chance to hit it again. But those cavemen can give you valuable meat, which will help you restore your health during this very long boss fight. Did you ever look at a fossilized T-Rex skeleton in a museum and think to yourself, I wonder if this thing had one solid neck, or if maybe it was a bunch of spheres that just floated independently of each other? Regardless of how silly this boss looks, we just need to keep chipping away at its health with our boomerangs. Remember, each bar of health is worth 4 hit points, so we'll need to hit it 4 times with the boomerangs to remove 1 bar of health. You can see that it's going to take a lot of hits to finish this guy down. Keep using that invisible step on the left side. Using that'll make it a lot easier to get over the rocks that this guy spits, and do your best to hit those cavemen that it spits out, because those will give you valuable health, and the meat that those guys drop is the difference between being able to kill this guy without losing any lives, or having to shed several lives fighting this guy. Of course, if you took advantage of any of those infinite life tricks in the game, or even just some of the bonus stages, you may have a solid reserve of lives at this point, and there's only going to be one more stage after this. So if you die a few times here and you still have 20 lives left when you finish this boss, I think you'll be okay. The boss is fiery red now, like a cartoon character that just drank a jar of Tabasco sauce. It won't be long now before this guy is defeated. Don't let scientists fool you with their half-baked theories about asteroid impacts or the onset of the Ice Age. The reason dinosaurs are extinct today is Joe and Mac. We get another kiss from a cave woman, and then we do what any normal caveman would do and go inside the dinosaur. Now, before we go to the final level, if you die here in stage L and have to use a continue, you're going to get kicked out to the map screen, and it's going to look like you're going to have to replay stage K over again, which is kind of a disaster. Nobody wants to fight that T-Rex a second time, but here's what you should do instead. Collect all the weapons at the beginning so that you have one of each weapon, and then just pause and press the select button, and you'll be immediately taken back to stage L. So keep that in mind if you do need to use a continue here in the last level. Alright, this is it, the final stage. We're inside the dinosaur, and it seems that it has eaten a lot of those Neanderthal guys, but they're still alive and kicking. so keep those wheels rolling in front of you as you make your way to the right. Over here, a bunch of enemies will drop from the ceiling. You can quickly run to the right, but if you do kill these guys, it will cause a power-up to spawn over on the right side. At this point though, you should have all the weapons you need, so there's no real reason to do that. To be able to collect the power-up that spawned, you will have to jump off of one of the Neanderthals, so make sure that you keep one. And yeah, it was a wheel, but we had the wheel already, so don't worry too much about collecting that there. Just keep making your way to the right, and keep those wheels rolling in front of you to hit any enemies that are in your way. Over here, you want to hold up as you throw your wheel. When you throw a wheel upward, it's going to roll whatever direction you were facing when you threw it. So as long as you're facing to the right, the wheel will go straight up, but then it will cover all of the ground in front of you, and it will make it easy to take out these rolling Neanderthals. And these guys are going to drop meat for you, which will be very convenient to fill up your health before the final battle. Watch out for that last rock and head over here. It's time to fight the Red Devil. Before we fight the devil, we're going to have to deal with these large man-eating plant heads that it throws at us. Start out in the middle and attack these ones to the left and the right. Whichever direction the plant head is facing, it's going to bounce the opposite way whenever you hit it. So keep that in mind as you're looking at these things. If you're attacking one of these from behind, it's going to be bouncing towards you. So if you can, you want to attack the mouth side of these plants. But every once in a while you get stuck behind one and you'll have to do your best. These two should be easy. We'll just push them over onto the left side. And that'll do it for the plant heads. It's time to face the actual boss. This boss doesn't display a life bar, but he has 80 hit points. That means we're going to have to hit him 27 times with our wheels. Whenever he comes charging in from the side, try to run away from him while hitting. And when he's at the top of the screen, this is the best time for you to hit him. Just keep firing one wheel at a time. You don't want to throw both of your wheels because if they both miss, they'll be rolling across the screen and you may be caught in a position where you won't be able to attack. So just throw one wheel at a time. Don't do your big jumps, just do small jumps. So you're going to do a small jump, and then once you've already jumped, then you're going to press up to throw the wheel upward. So you don't want to already be holding up or you'll be doing big jumps instead of small ones. Whenever you see it make a clone like that, you'll have an opportunity to hit both the boss and the clone at the same time by attacking right between them. And you want to finish off that clone as quickly as possible, or it'll go bouncing around the screen and be very annoying. So make sure to clear those clones as soon as they get made. This guy doesn't have too many other attacks. If he goes right next to the heart and starts stabbing it with his pitchfork, you just want to get underneath him and attack without jumping. That's a great opportunity to deal a lot of damage. Okay, here it is right here. So just stand right under him and just keep attacking. And after a while, the Red Devil will go down. But that is not the end of the game. There's still one more boss. The game's final boss is a Blue Devil, probably Leitner. He has another 80 hit points just like the Red Devil before him, so keep your wheels equipped. This boss is very predictable. The first two things he always does is teleport somewhere on the screen and then do a left fireball, then a right fireball. So there's a left fireball, then a right fireball, and he's going to repeat that, teleport somewhere else, left fireball, right fireball. Then he's going to go to the top middle and do one of three things. If he does this attack, you can't damage him, but you can roll through the rings that he produces. And as soon as that second one hits the bottom corner, you'll be able to hit him once. And then he's going to do his teleport, left fireball, right fireball thing 2 more times. And then he'll go to the top middle and do a random attack again. You don't want to be directly underneath him when he goes to the top middle to do that random attack, because one of those attacks shoots a ring straight down on you. You just saw his fire attack, so that's one of the 3 possible things he can do, and here's that attack again. So whichever direction it goes, just go to the other side to avoid that one. And he's going to be doing the left and right fireballs again. That's a great time to get a bunch of damage on him. And that's the attack that you don't want to be standing underneath him for. So that's why we want to watch out for that one. I would say the easiest one of his attacks to avoid is probably that one. As long as you're not just standing underneath him, you'll be fine. You just want to be a little bit off center so you can still hit the boss. Remember, for that attack, you can roll through the rings and you can hit him at the very end of it. And here he's doing those left and right fireballs again. So just look for where he appears. You know where the fireball is going to go. Watch out for whatever his random attack is. And it shouldn't take too much more to finish this guy off. Whenever he's this dark purple, that means he's almost dead. So a few more hits should do it, and he's going to be doing this ring around the room thing. You can jump over these rings too, but I think that rolling through them is actually a little bit safer. See where he appears here. And he's going to do it again. Get him. And he's shooting that thing around the room again. Remember, he's invincible when he does this, so this attack is a little bit annoying, but it is pretty easy to avoid. And that's it. We've done it. We've beaten Joe and Mac. All we can do now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. This ending isn't particularly exciting. It's more or less just a credit roll and Joe and Mac just kind of hang out in the middle of the screen while some enemies run by, and then at the very end they'll be chased off by a group of women. However, in the arcade version, there were 3 different endings, so after you defeat the final boss, you have 3 choices for how to exit, and whichever exit you choose, you would get that ending. Well, the people that made the Super Nintendo version, they wanted to try to recreate that a little bit, but there are no branching paths in the Super Nintendo game, so instead, you can enter a code to get 1 alternate ending. The ending that you're watching right now, this is the standard one, so this is the ending you would see if you didn't touch any buttons at the end. But after this ending wraps up, we'll take a look at the special one. Now, to do the special ending, you're going to hold down X, A, L, and R, and you can be holding those buttons down during the entire ending, but the game checks whenever the text Sound Creator Atomic Hanada comes onto the screen, so right now you need to be holding those buttons, and if you were, well, this is the ending for you if you like the BBWs. So that's the different ending, just a different set of women chasing Joe and Mac, but it is nice that they tried to preserve a little bit of the arcade flavor here in the Super Nintendo version. Well, I hope this video was able to help you finally beat Joe and Mac and rescue prehistoric times from rampaging dinosaurs. If it did, make sure to give it a like, and make sure to subscribe for more videos, because there will always be more T-Rexes to tame, and that's why we'll be back again next week with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.